Hello and cordially welcome to this second video of the series CODESYS in Building Automation. Together with my colleague Ulrich Meyer, who is our specialist for building automation, we want to introduce you into CODESYS, to this IEC 61131 tool, and to show you how you can benefit from this tool for realization of your building projects. CODESYS is the abbreviation for Controller Development System. And already this name makes clear that the tool is made for programming controllers, especially for building automation. So we use it for programming the system. And for programming, we need, of course, data which is used in form of variables. Inside CODESYS, we can easily declare variables, and we can use standard data types for this purpose, such as Boolean variables, integer variables, bit variables, floating point variables, or strings. You can easily combine such variables as so-called user-defined data types, which could be enumerations, alias data types, or especially structures. So in structures, we can combine types of different ways. Furthermore, you can define whether such a variable is valid only for a certain programming object or for the global project. In addition, there's a possibility to declare such variables as persistent data. CODESYS even offers the possibility to have so-called network variables, which are made for the data exchange within, for example, an Ethernet network between different controllers within the same network. So you can easily send and receive data via this special protocol from other devices. Now talking about the programming. For this purpose, we have to define objects, so-called program organization units. These are objects with which we can now program in one of the 5 languages defined in the international standard IEC 61131-3. Within these 5 languages, 2 languages are especially interesting for the building automation. The first one is structured text, ST. And as the name already says, structured text is a textual language, very similar to Pascal. And it's a kind of high-level programming language within that IEC 61131. Especially those programmers who are already familiar with high-level programming languages will be very easily work with that programming language. And they will realize complex algorithms, high sophisticated processes, conditions, logic programs. It's really made for that. But of course, with structured text, you can as well realize all other kind of programming tasks that you need to realize. On the other hand, there's the CFC, the continuous function chart, which is a freely graphical editor. In this editor, you can select blocks which represent commands, operators, or other functions, and combine them and graphically connect them with each other. So this makes clear that this CFC has a higher abstraction level, and therefore it's much easier to have with CFC an overview on complete systems or subsystems. Remember what Ulrich Meyer said in the first series of the video about building automation? We can distinguish or separate the application development into 6 different layers. Structured text is more made for the system layers, for the lower layers, for working with sensors, actors, and so on. And the CFC is more for the higher layers, which makes clear that they are more for the overview of the whole system. CODESYS is an integrated development system, which is not only for programming, but as well for realizing modern and professional operator screens, user interfaces. For this purpose, there's a special visualization editor integrated in the system with which you can easily realize your operator screens. For that purpose, there's a toolbox of different available elements, simple elements, but as well very complex elements, which you can combine, connect them to the variables of the logic program, and therefore realize an animation, a complete operator screen. Because this can be done in parallel to the programming, it's very, very popular among the CODESYS users, and almost every CODESYS user works as well with the visualization. Yeah, because in parallel to the programming, he can realize a very nice graphical test visualization in order to test his application. And with the same test visualization, he could, for example, do the commissioning of the building, of the room, or whatever he wants to automate with. So these screens are multi-purpose screens. They can be used in different situations, not only for the testing and commissioning of the application, but as well for the operation of the complete installation. So these screens can be downloaded to the room controller, especially if it's equipped with an integrated display, and can then act as operator interface, not just as controller, but as well as operator interface, and the operator can change the temperature, switch on lights, or other things. With the same screen, the visualization can as well be executed within a web browser. For this purpose, again, these screens are downloaded to the controller. There, a special web server is needed, and then any web browser can connect to the controller and upload the visualization screen into the browser and display it there. We're working here with HTML5 technology, so this means every browser can do it, no matter if it's a desktop PC, a notebook computer, a tablet, or even a smartphone. And you can imagine this is quite handy. Running around in the building and the installation, being connected to the controller via wireless LAN, and get all the variables of the controllers, being able to switch on or off lights or other subsystems in order to do maintenance jobs. There's even another possibility to use these screens, because there's a Windows and Linux software available in order to realize that visualization and to execute them on standard PCs, for example, on control stations for supervision functions. No matter which kind of visualization you're using, integrated in the CODESYS development system, as target visualization, web visualization, or as that separated version, the communication between the controller and the visualization is always highly efficient because we are working with the same software environment. After this short intro to the CODESYS visualization, we want now to go in depth. Ulrich will not just mention all the further features and some other features of CODESYS, but as well have at the end a live demonstration inside the CODESYS development system.
CODESYS integrated visualization comes with a comprehensive user management and language switching and unit conversion features. Also with a style switching, and from my point of view, really important in the realm of building automation, with integrated alarm management in visualization and also integrated data recording in visualization as traces, which are short-term non-persistent data loggings or recordings, histogram, and trend, which is long-term persistent data recording. IEC could be used in visualization, for example, close to widgets or around widgets, I would say, or in the implementation of widgets. So for data processing or unit conversion, or simple for visualization control. There is an extensive selection of visualization elements in libraries available already, and also you could use the visual element toolkit to build your own visual elements or extend existing. What distinguishes CODESYS visualization from different other systems? There are 3 topics from my point of view. At first, the in-depth integration into the PLC programming system. So basically one CODESYS project can contain a PLC application and the visualization. And there is no management for data exchange needed because the application and the visualization uses the same variables. The entire infrastructure of the CODESYS development system is also used for the visualization. So the library management, project compare, revision control, and simple features like search and replace, and I will demo this later on. And the third most important topic, the platform independence. So basically on any platform where you got the CODESYS runtime system, you could run the visualization. And there are off-the-shelf runtimes for Windows, Windows CE, and Linux. And all have the same user interface with the different variants of visualization. Roland talked about that before. A word about libraries. There are 2 types of libraries in CODESYS. The first, the source library with the file extension .library, is used for development purpose. And the deployment library type, which comes with no source information included, is the so-called compiled library. Elements in libraries could be user-defined data types, program organization units like function blocks or programs. interfaces and globals like global variables or constants, and of course visualization elements or complete visualization screens, and text lists for visualization localization, for example. There is a need for identification and versioning of libraries. I will demo this later on. And libraries comes with a generated documentation. The documentation is generated from the elements in the library. Also demo this later on. There are more information about libraries on the CODESYS websites, so you could find a webinar there dealing with library development and usage, and there are certain trainings on the topic of library development. Project Compare. CODESYS comes with an integrated Project Compare, which is known as a diff merge in software development. CODESYS allows to compare two CODESYS projects or CODESYS project history in revision control. So there are changes in the project structure you could diff and merge, like renaming, adding, removing elements, and changes in elements, of course, like changes in function blocks, visualization elements. I will demo this later on as well. So you get a chance of a controlled merge of all these changes. And from my point of view, this is really essential for distributed and concurrent development, which is quite usual in building automation on construction site. Revision control. CODESYS utilizes Subversion, which is one of the most commonly used revision control systems, and CODESYS comes with a CODESYS plugin called CODESYS SVN. It is seamlessly integrated in the CODESYS development system, and the usability is oriented towards average SVN clients like Tortoise. There's an object level multi-user access as well as a version history, and the Project Compare is used in CODESYS for diff and merge purpose. The CODESYS Developer Edition comes with an integrated CODESYS SVN plugin. Otherwise, you could obtain it in the store. And it's pretty easy to import a CODESYS project into a SVN repository. And also we have an offline mode, which is helpful for work on the construction site. I'd like to demo the following features here briefly. Programming in structured text and continuous function chart, where appropriate. The integrated visualization, building and using libraries, the project diff, and revision control integration. To demonstrate all this, I picked a hopefully not too complicated example. There is a blind control, and we want to ensure that the blind is moved to a safe position if we have gusty wind conditions. So we got a weather station providing the necessary input. We got a gust detection and the blind control and the blind switch, of course. Let's take a look at the real-world weather station first. So there are two examples of real-world weather stations, like this one, which provides a dozen measurement values, in this case as Modbus outputs. There is another weather station pretty similar to this, also providing a dozen measurement values, also at Modbus outputs. And we implement such a weather station here with two function blocks. The one is the generic implementation, which is necessary to implement additional computations like a daily mean temperature or a weather category, I would say, we want to visualize later on. And the other element is the weather station input. So we separate the computation from the inputs. And those elements are implemented in the library I will show you right now. So I have a second CODESYS development system here. And at first we take a look at the library project information. Here we got the information to identify the library. The library is identified by a title, a namespace, and a version. And it's highly recommended to register the namespace and the name of the library with CODESYS to ensure the unique identification of your library. And the versioning is needed, of course, if you do several versions of your library. The elements in the library are implemented in structured text, because I would rate a weather station a complex sensor or simple aggregate, and that's why I would recommend implementing it in structured text. So here could see the implementation. Let's take a brief look at the interface. we have the input, which is the interface basically, the input to provide the inputs from the real-world weather station. We have the output variables, which provide the measurement values for the application, and also the computed values like the daily mean temperature. And we got the implementation functions here, for example, for the daily mean temperature. It's a CODESYS function block. There are other CODESYS function blocks for the gust detection and the weather station simulated inputs we use in this example, because we don't want to deal with real-world weather stations here right now. And also we got some visualization elements in the library, like this weather station visu element, which connects to a weather station. We will see this later on in the application. It does the visualization for the measurement values of this weather station, does some pictograms for the wind speed and the weather situation, and also a wind direction. So a brief word about project compare and revision control. I would like to show you this using the revision control plugin. I'll take a look at the revision log. So what did I change on this project in the last some days? There are the changes in the project I did and committed to the subversion. And I pick one and compare it with the actual revision of the library and start the project comparison here. And this gets me a nice and easy to understand and clear view about the changes I did. So there are structural changes, changes on elements like this change on the computation of the wind speed. So basically here I changed to the Beaufort scale, or changes in visualization elements like this change, which is a major rework of the visualization element, which is pretty easy to see here. So back to the application. The application itself is implemented in CFC because this gets you a clear understanding of your data flow in your application. I would recommend implementing levels 4 to 6, like I said, in the application levels with CFC because of this reason, because it's easy to understand data flow. So you could hide complexity quite good, and it's much easier to understand than programming this in structured text, but it's up to you. So we could start a PLC here to demo the running application. I choose a CODESYS control running on my PC here right now. I download the application and start it. And we see our blind moving to the required position. We could debug our application multi-language, for example, enabling a breakpoint here and stepping into the function block, which is implemented in structured text. I think this should be enough for right now. So now let's take a look at the visualization. We could view it here in the CODESYS Studio for development purpose, or we could go to our web browser and view the web view of the visualization connecting to our local web server, which is integrated in the CODESYS runtime, and have pretty much the same view here. So now let's take care for gusty wind conditions. So I tell the weather station simulated inputs to create gusty wind conditions by forcing this value. And now you can see wind speed and wind direction forcing the gust control or the gust detection to detect gusts and forcing the blind control to move the blind to a safe position. And taking a look at the visualization again, we see that we got gusty wind conditions here. So this was very briefly an overview about building and using libraries, programming in structured text and CFC, project diff merge, and revision control.
Thank you very much for watching this video. We both hope that this video gives you an impression how you can benefit from CODESYS in your next project in the building automation. And we would of course be happy if you look into the other videos of the series and if you subscribe for the YouTube channel. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.